Today on the Charge Up, women's lacrosse is on a hot streak, and Chargers baseball swept their opponent over the weekend. We'll also look at the top performances from the men's and women's track and field team and the softball team. And then on the show today, we have men's basketball guard Elijah Bailey. So stay tuned for the Charge Up. Hello and welcome to the Charge Up. I'm James Cassidy, and with me today, as always, is Christy Geronimo, Devin Maida, and Eric Nybro. Women's lacrosse won 2 games this week, including an 11-point win over American International. Chris, what are we seeing from this team recently?
Well, what we saw from this team was 2 should-win wins this week, and they took care of business. The offense looked great. The defense improved. So all around, there's a great 2 wins for the Chargers this week.
Yeah, like you said, 2 wins that you had to get. Stack was 3-7, American was 3-9 on the season. Both 2 bad teams. Hey, a little confidence going into the NE10 plays. They beat American, an NE10 opponent, which they've sort of struggled with a little bit, but that's usually because they've been playing ranked opponents in the NE10. But good start for the lacrosse team this week.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of business against those lesser teams, which was nice to see. But it was also nice to see the offense spreading around. It was like everybody was getting goals. Mackenzie Ray had a nice, solid game. First game, 6 goals. And then the second game, she popped on 4 goals. So that's 10 goals in 2 games. Can't be stopped. And that wasn't the only thing. Mar also had 6 assists and then 5 goals in the second game. So the offense is nice. Everybody's getting a part of it, and which is also helping the defense along.
It was also Jessica Mazda. She had 4 goals and 4 assists against American International with the team high 8 points. That puts her 4th in the NE10 with 27 assists overall. So she's been a big factor in this offense. And one thing I saw from her against St. Thomas Aquinas was that they took her away from behind the net and put her more in the middle. So that could have played a big part in scoring the 19 goals that they did. But she could have been in the middle, passing it
dishing
up,
around,
getting people involved. So I think that was a dicey move, but it worked out in the end because she's been there the whole time.
So as you guys have said, like these teams were lesser competition. They had lesser weak records coming in. But do you think these wins can really help this team going into playing these NE10 games against higher ranked opponents and teams that actually have a winning record this season?
I mean, they have the firepower to do so. They just need to clean it up on defense so then the offense doesn't suffer from the lack of defense, because then they're playing from behind. And we've seen when they're playing behind, they do play catch-up pretty well, but it's always they're behind too much, and catch-up is not enough.
I think it's all about the confidence.
Yeah.
When you're, like you said, when you're playing down, you lose confidence, you start turning the ball over. But when you're scoring and you're leading, the confidence builds up and you get like superpowers, basically.
Yeah.
Everything's falling for you, everything's going good. So I think if they keep winning, the confidence will keep going and they'll be able to succeed going forward.
Of course, I agree 100% with that confidence point. And I think the confidence is key with those underclassmen that really haven't had that playing time against some of these tougher teams. And for them to get their confidence higher and higher, they're going to see these bigger teams, and they're going to be like, I can do this. I did it against this team. I did it against this team. I did it against this team. And they'll be fine.
One thing I think they improved on was clears, going from defense to offense, because we saw against Adelphi and we saw against St. Thomas Aquinas that they had trouble clearing the ball going from defense to offense. Like when they got the ball back on defense, St. Thomas Aquinas kept knocking it out, they kept turning it over, and they weren't able to establish the offense early. So once they did that, they had a lot of success.
Sloppy transition, yeah. and that's a huge problem if they can't get that smooth transition from defense to offense, obviously.
Also, draw controls too. Raven Litton had career high 16, and she broke the school record. So that's a big factor too. Controlling the ball, keeping the ball on offense, and doing your thing.
When this team's been successful, it's when they won the draw controls. It's been as simple as that for this team.
Very true. Chargers lacrosse will play Wednesday at home against Southern New Hampshire University. Now on to men's basketball. Elijah Bailey was the second leading scorer on the men's basketball team, and now the junior will look to become the team's leader next season. Bailey is here with us today to talk about what to expect. Over to you, Chris.
You guys obviously had a very successful regular season last season, but you didn't make the NE10. You lost in the NE10 tournament, and then you ended up not making the NCAA tournament. So, how does that motivate you going forward for next season?
Well, definitely the goal is to get better each year, and I think we did. Our record was better from last year. Of course, we didn't go as far as we would like, so that's just motivation for next year. Like, now that we know what we need to do, next year we just need to have a better record, win more games, and go farther in the tournament.
All right, so we all know that Danny Upchurch was the guy last year. He was the leading scorer, but you were the second leading scorer. So now, what do you think you have to do next season to become the guy and to lead the team next season?
Yeah, Danny definitely had a tremendous season. For next year, we're going to miss that points and assists, so definitely myself and my other teammates, we need to step up with the scoring and assists to make up for everything that we're missing from Danny.
What are some goals and expectations you have for next season?
Some goals, Coach says it all the time. We would like to win every game, have a better schedule, and we just missed the tournament this year, so our goal is to just solidify our spot in the tournament, and we want to win the whole thing.
You guys lost 4 seniors last year, 3 of those being very significant pieces to the team. What advice would you give to the younger guys coming in that are going to play bigger roles next season?
Yeah, seniors that we're losing definitely played a big role in our team, and we're gonna miss them for next year. So, for the recruits coming in and the guys we currently have, we just need to step up to the plate and just make sure we're doing everything we need to do to continue to win.
All right, now can you give us some insight, some breakout performers besides yourself, some other players on the team that you think will break out next season?
Yeah, I definitely think that our big man Kesley Felizor will step up, and also Derek Rowland.
Thank you for coming on the show. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Chris. Bailey was a major part of the Chargers offense this last season. What do you guys see coming from him in the upcoming season?
Well, I think Bailey could be the new focal point of the team. Like last year, we had Danny Upchurch was the guy, and I think this next upcoming season, Bailey's gonna be that guy with a little help from his good friend Derek Rowland. Like he said, is gonna be a guy stepping up, and I definitely agree with him. And he's gonna need him to step up if they want to get more wins. Like Bailey said, he wants to increase that win total.
Like you said, they're all about improvements at the UNH men's basketball team. If they just keep improving year in year, and that I think we can expect that from Elijah Bailey, that he will keep improving and become the guy. And he has, honestly, first team NE10 potential. He really does.
I really think he does, and I think this team has the potential to be really great next season. Like he said, their coach is always about winning every game and focusing on the next one and just moving on and keeping the wins coming. I think this team is built that they can do some big damage in the NE10 this upcoming season.
Definitely. I think if they compound those improvements, only good things will come and get those dubs, like he said.
Well, he talked about how next year that coach is going to really strengthen that schedule for them. So they're going to go through a lot of tough tests, but hopefully that leads to more wins and a chance to play in the NCAA tournament.
Thanks again to Elijah for coming in for this interview. Chargers baseball swept St. Anselm on Sunday after moving up to number 5 spot in the National Division II rankings. Devin, what do we see from the team?
Once again, we saw some solid pitching, obviously from our good friend David Palmer, who went a nice solid 7 innings strong, only 1 earned run with 5 Ks. He moved his win total up to 6. He's 6-1 on the year. It's a solid start again for our good friend David Palmer.
Yeah, we also saw Isaiah Mastre versus St. Anselm. He went 5 1/3. He gave up 8 hits, 2 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts, and he's 5-0 in the year. So he didn't have a great start, but the offense really picked him up and helped him out.
Yeah, the offense was, everybody was a part of it too, just like our friends at Lacrosse. Tom Walraven went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a double, and he wasn't the only one getting in on the fun. We had Jack Zagaja, 2 for 4 with 1 RBI and another run scored.
Yeah, Joe Keiko, 3 for 6, 3 runs, 1 RBI. So everybody's contributing, everybody's having fun, and they're winning.
James Myers even had a 3 RBI day there in one of those doubleheaders, as he looks like he's solidified that second base spot, and it looks like it's now his. In the beginning, it was a little bit of a platoon, but he's been playing some great baseball.
That's what you want to see, and it's nice to see him hitting near the bottom of the order, because then that's just showing the consistency around the whole lineup, and you got to pitch to somebody in that lineup.
Yeah, just rolling right now. Then the mid part of the season, they're rolling, again the wins, and it looks great.
Who do you guys think that an X factor could be for this baseball team to continue the great form that they've had early on in the year?
I like P.J. Contreras because he had a rough day, a rough beginning during the doubleheader, but then he had a nice 2-4 day with a run score and 2 RBIs and a stolen base. That's nice to see from offensive production at your catcher.
I like Brandon Lamanna, the sophomore, who is pretty much their setup man, but like in nowadays baseball, you know, sometimes they pitch the 9, sometimes they pitch the 8, he pitches at whenever they need him, and he's pitching well so far in the season. I think could be a real X factor in how this team plays.
Nice.
It's nice to have that second arm in the bullpen to help, but just in case if your star doesn't go too far, he can eat up some innings and then lead you to the closer.
True. The Chargers will play crosstown rivals at Southern Connecticut State on Wednesday. Chargers track and field came away from the Yale Mark Young Invitational this weekend with 20 top 8 finishes over both teams. Eric, what was working for the Chargers?
The Michaels and men's track and field were killing it. Michael Candlin in the hammer throw killed it with a second overall, first upon D2 athletes. Michael Reddy in the 1500 finished second also overall and first in the overall D2. And the 4x1 relay with Michael Donovan on it, Matt McLaughlin, Jair Banton, and Kevin Anton was second also in the 4x1 and was first among D2 qualifiers, or D2 teams.
Well, the men's weren't the only team having a lot of success. The women's were, specifically our charge-up guest, Riley Knieves, who won all three of her events. And I don't want to mention this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ever since she's been on the show, she's just been winning all of her events. So, athletes, come on down, please.
Yeah, as you said previously, we had 20 top 8 finishers. So it's really impressive. They're really doing everything they can and having a lot of success.
I think the big thing we saw from this meet is just how good this team can be, because they were stacking up against D1 competition and came away with a lot of, like you saw, a top 8, but even some top 5 and top 2 and wins against some really stiff competition of athletes. What do you think this means going forward for this track and field teams?
Well, it's nice to see how both teams have the potential for anyone on a team to win any event that they're going to partake in. So it's good to see.
Nice. The Chargers will head to New London this weekend to participate in the Sylphin Track and Field Invitational. Chargers softball split 2 doubleheaders this weekend against Southern New Hampshire University and Franklin Pierce. Chris, what do we see from the Chargers?
Well, we see an even split between solid pitching and solid offense. We saw this during the doubleheaders this weekend. So offensively, Giovanna Hillman went 3 for 7, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. It's really impressive from a freshman. And then we had Christine Liptek, 4 for 7, 1 RBI, 4 hits on the day. So obviously this offense is clicking right now, and hopefully we can keep it up.
Yep, as you mentioned, that Southern New Hampshire game, that's a ranked team. That's a very good team. They're ranked, they're 22-6 this season, and a great team in the NE10. And they beat them both games and were very competitive in both games. They only lost that one game 4-3, so they played great against them.
Yeah, no, it's good to see how they're able to match up well against some of those ranked teams, because that's good headed into the playoffs and the tournament eventually. But we had some, like you said, Chris, it was both pitching and offense. The pitching was very solid all weekend. I mean, some of they lost 2 of the games, but they need some help offensively. But nonetheless, the pitching was solid all around. Stonebreaker in the first game, she got the dub. She had 6 Ks and she went 5 2/3. A nice solid outing for her. And like always, Megan Butts always gives us a nice solid outing too, with 7 innings, 0 runs. She shut them down in the second game, the doubleheader yesterday. For the Ks.
I think going forward they have a favorable schedule coming up. So if they keep up this success that they had this weekend, I think it gets a lot more wins and hopefully finish out the season strong.
Remember, this is still a young team. They're not really that old. They don't have tons and tons of seniors and upperclassmen. they have their struggles, they have their bumps. That's just what comes with a young team.
Talking about how this is a young team, like we talked about the baseball team, who's an X-factor player that you think could really make the difference for the softball team going forward in their season?
Sierra Whitlock, she went 4 for 4. So she's obviously getting on base, doing her thing, getting hits. So she's been a big help to this team so far.
Yeah, you want to see more production out of the leadoff spot there, because like 4 for 4 on base every time she had a stolen base. She can make stuff happen. When you get on base, it makes the defense play on edge, and then anything can happen there, and runs are what we want.
It helps the pitching too, helps out our pitchers in the run support.
Going back to Cassidy's question on that X factor, I think Maddie DeRosa is a key X factor, just like we talked about with the baseball team with James Myers, that 8 hitter playing well. If Maddie can get the bat going, it could be pretty dangerous, and they could have that balance in that lineup.
Definitely.
Very good. The Chargers will head to Southern Connecticut State on Tuesday to face off with the Owls in a doubleheader. That's all for the Charge Up. Make sure to follow us on social media and tune into the Charger Bulletin News on Fridays. For Devin Maida, Chris DiGeronimo, and Eric Nybro, I'm James Cassidy, and we'll see you next week on The Charge Up.